Hey guys, this is Stephanie and I'm Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Today I'm coming to you guys with a Monday Reads. I'm going to talk about the books that I've read, books I'm going to be reading. So if I'm gauging things correctly, you guys will be getting this video kind of in the middle of all of my best, worst, and all that kind of wrap up stuff of the 2019 videos that I filmed. I'm releasing them like every other day now that I have them all filmed and edited and ready to go. And this is just going to drop right in the middle of it. So enjoy a slew of videos for a while. And in my resolution video, I said I wanted to keep my videos shorter, which I didn't do with my best or my worst videos, but the rest of them are shorter, which is good. So I'm going to keep this one nice and short. I have 5 books that I have read so far this year, which actually surprises me, though 2 of them are pretty small. The first one I'm going to talk about, it's not the first book that I read this year, but it is my least favorite of the ones that I have in front of me, and that is going to be Coral by Sarah Ella. Now, this one is a book that I got in a book box, I think in November, maybe December. I don't remember now. It could have been October. I don't remember. But I got this in a book box that was like mermaid themed. It was really, really cute. And I did enjoy the box. I didn't really enjoy the book. I think I gave it like 2, maybe 2.5 stars. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It just kind of was for me. I did this as a buddy read with April Sarah. She actually received a copy of this to review and she said, look what I got. And I said, buddy read. So we basically read a set amount of chapters and we discussed it each night. I gave this a 2.0 technically I didn't really like it, and a 3.0 personally, because I felt like it did have some good points to it. So this one is a book where we have 3 points of view. We have a mermaid named Coral, we have a girl named Brooke, and then we have a boy named Merrick. Now Coral is the little mermaid and she feels very stuck in her world and very misunderstood, and she's been cursed with the human sickness called emotions. And she's dealing with that under the sea. And then we have Brooke out of the sea. And Brooke is at a treatment facility and we don't know why. And she is just struggling with dealing with things that have happened in her life. And then we have Merrick. And Merrick is kind of the rich boy, but he doesn't really want to be tagged as the rich boy. He wants to be more original in that. And his dad is very much trying to make him like, do what you need to do to take on the family business kind of thing. And then Merrick has a younger sister who is sick with mental illness. And so he's kind of trying to deal with that and deal with the father thing, and family struggles ensue. And the 3 of them, their stories collide. So like I said, the thing I liked about this book was the mental illness factor. I feel like she wrote about this really, really well. Knowing people personally who have had the similar mental illness issues that she talks about in here, it really gives a good view to it, especially if you're not the one who's experienced that and you just know people who have. I feel like it's going to help you have a new understanding and a new way to view it, which is so hard to write, and she did such a good job with that. However, I didn't really like any of the characters. I felt like most of the characters were kind of flat. I felt like most of the characters didn't really have too much of an arc. And the plot was kind of and had some holes in it. Like there were times I was talking to April and I was like, how could this happen when that happened? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll explain it by the end. They really didn't. So it had some issues in it. Moreover, the ending was like super sweet. Like, oh, it's just so sweet and so great and everything's perfect now. And I'm thinking, well, no. I mean, mental illness is generally a lifelong struggle. And you may get better for a while, which is really good. But there's a really good chance it's going to come back again, and you're just going to have to be prepared to deal with it again and again. And they kind of made it seem like, oh, all better now. Everybody's good. And I'm like, no, that's not really how it works. So that part of it, I was like, and hopefully I didn't ruin anything to you by telling you that. I might have. I'm sorry if I did. But if you're looking for a book with good mental illness rep, this would be a great one. Okay, I talked about that a little bit longer than I was going to. Next, I'm going to talk about Ruined by Amy Tintera. This was the first book that I read this year, and this was my January buddy read with Serenity Dawn. I feel like all I've done is buddy read this month. Otherwise, I'm not sure I would have read very much, but I did like this book. I think I gave it like a 4.0 personally, maybe something more along a 3.2 technically. The technical writing was fine. This wasn't a particularly new story. It's definitely something that I've heard of before, but I did like the way she went about telling the story. And I like Amy Tintera. I've read another book by her before that was the first in the series as well, and I liked that one. This is the first in a trilogy, and I went to pick up the rest of the trilogy, and I suddenly wasn't interested in anything. But I have been pretty busy with camp and things like that, so we'll see what else I can get interested in reading. Basically, this is like a fantasy world with a little bit of magic, and we are on like a continent with 4 countries. I'm trying to remember the name of all 4 of them, but 2 of the countries are Rund and Lyra. And basically, people who live in Rund have magical abilities, and not all of them, but a lot of them do. And then they have runes on their skin, so you can kind of tell who those people are. And Lyra has conquered Rund and the 2 other countries basically that are there, and they hunt down the Rund. They hunt them and they kill them. So we are following the princess of the Rund, M, and basically at the very beginning of the book, she gets herself into the kingdom of Lara, disguised as the princess who's supposed to marry their prince. Apparently, they didn't do pictures back then. So nobody really knows that she's the wrong person. But the whole plan is to get in there, sabotage things, and kill everyone. It's a great plan. And of course, she doesn't plan on actually liking the prince. And of course, he's a good person and he's actually interesting and things like that. But I will say this book had some twists and turns that I didn't see coming, and I did enjoy as well. And it is a series I will be continuing. The next 2 books I have are The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I'm doing a buddy read, yet again, with Faye over at Mystery Date with a Book. And we are reading a book a week to get through all the Narnia books. I think by the end of February, we should be done with all of them. But I did read these 2 as well. I think Magician's Nephew might be my second favorite one. I really enjoy this one. It's kind of an origin story, though it was technically written like maybe the 6th. I don't think it was the 7th. I think it was the 6th one in the series. Like it was written later. But it tells you exactly how the world of Narnia came about, which I really, really like that about this one. And then, of course, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is great as well. I forget how much I like these books. I haven't reread them in a while, probably a solid like 10 years since I've reread these books, and I love them. I think they're fantastic. If you're looking for good like middle grade, because they're pretty short fantasy, these are a great place to start. And the most recent book that I've read, which I read in 2 days because I could not put it down, was Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. Holy cow. I loved this book. So here's what happened. I got this book from Serenity Dawn actually for Christmas. We did the book swap. You can look back on my videos to find it. Ton of fun. And I didn't really know anything about this book. I just knew it was beautiful. And I know I've read books by Ruta Sepetys and I like them. But it is, I mean, it's so beautiful. It has this red spine. It's so beautiful. Basically in this one, we are following multi-perspectives, kind of like Salt of the Sea. And I was a little nervous because I think I liked Salt of the Sea, but the perspective swap I didn't love. And I will tell you, it took me the first half of the book to really get used to the perspective swap. But our main 2 characters have a bit of a romance, but really just a friendship as well. And I was so interested in that. I was willing to just kind of push through some of the other stuff because I was just like, it's such a sweet friendship and it's such a sweet, innocent relationship. And I was just like, I love this. I gave it 5 stars. I don't know if I told you that, but I gave it 5 stars. I loved this book. I love Ruta Sepetys as an author. She does a perspective swap. Like some chapters are like a page and a half or 2 pages of one person's perspective, and then we go on to the next perspective. And that is not, I do not like that in writing. To me, it's very distracting, disjointed. I don't do well with it. But the story was so good, it didn't seem to matter that I kind of was just like, oh, I don't like that guy when he talks. I don't care what he has to say. And I still read it, but it was really good. Okay, gushing. So, what this is about. This is following the Civil War in Spain, and General Francisco Franco was in charge. And it's like late 50s, like I want to say 57, I think, is when it takes place. So, we are following this kid named Daniel. Now, he's just graduated high school, so he's like 18. and he loves taking photos. He wants to be a photographer, but his father is like an oil baron and is like, no, son, you're going to be taking over the business. Now, his mom is actually from Spain, and she wanted to go back and like see the country where she grew up and all of that kind of stuff. So they go to Spain on like this family trip. And so he's there and he's kind of stuck in the hotel, and he didn't really want to go, but he's just a nice guy and he's just a good kid. So he's really not kicking up that much of a fuss. But he still wants to go to school to become a photojournalist. We also are following Anna, and I believe that this is Anna. This beautiful picture on the front is Anna, because they talk about numerous times just how beautiful she is, and this is basically what I saw when I saw her. And Anna is from Spain, and she is a maid in the hotel. So she's a maid, but at the same time, it's a fancier hotel. I think it's a Hilton, but it's still a fancier hotel. So she's assigned to their family, and I think they're supposed to be there like the majority of the summer. And she's supposed to make sure they have everything they need. So if they need more towels, Anna takes them towels. If the mom wants her dress pressed, Anna does it. If they want postage stamps, Anna will go get them postage stamps. Like, she is assigned to their family. She's supposed to make sure that their stay is perfect. And she's doing this job because eventually she wants to go to like a business school or work on the business side of the hotel. And she knows that this is just a step in the ladder to get there. And then we have a few other perspectives as well. We have her cousin named Pura. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. We have her brother Rafi, and then we have her sister. It's Julia, but I think it's Julia. Though my Spanish is not good. And then I think we might have a couple chapters through Nick's point of view. Nick is kind of a friend who's about Daniel's age, who Daniel meets well. He's in Spain. He's like ambassador's son kind of guy. But at the core of it, what it is most of the people who are natives are very scared. There was a Spanish Civil War, which I learned a lot about that, and the politics that go with it and how repressed most of these people are. And Daniel doesn't really see that because that's not the tourist side of Spain. So what he sees is like the flamenco dancers and the pretty this and this and this. And what Ana starts to show him is the real Spain and how it is poverty, and it is people are living in fear and finding beauty among things like that, but just finding the truth using his photos. And it's a beautiful story of friendship and humanity. And oh, before I forget, there's a character in here named Ben, and he is, I think he's not an ambassador, but he's like a journalistic ambassador to Spain, but he's also very censored in what he can print and what he can say. And he's totally encouraging Daniel this whole time to like go forth and be a photojournalist and tell stories and say your stuff that you need to say. I see this character played by John Hamm. I saw this the whole time in my head. I saw John Hamm because he's supposed to be kind of like a man ahead of his time. Like, he looks like he's from the 60s, and he's like a chain smoker, and he's charming but older but kind of serious but a little rough around the edges. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is John Hamm. This is amazing. So I don't know if that's who she was envisioning, but that is who I was envisioning. I loved this book, and I know I'm gushing about it because I just finished it like 5 hours ago. But I loved it. Okay, a few books I am going to be reading is A Horse and His Boy, which is the next one in the Narnia series. I will be picking it up this week. And then Prince Caspian will be next week's, but it's all the way over there. I can't even reach it. I also am going to be picking up Matilda by Roald Dahl, which my niece is in the play Matilda, and I've never read the book. So I thought, I'm going to read this book. This is a middle grade book. I'm not 100% sure what it's about, except a girl named Matilda, who I think has a kind of a hard family life and isn't appreciated at school, and there's like a bad teacher and a good teacher. I don't know, Roald Dahl's all about the underdog, so I'm sure I'll like it. And I also will be picking up Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This is my book club pick, and so I basically have 7 days to read this, so I need to read this. But everybody else in the book club is like, I read it in 2 days. I read it in 3 days, so I have a feeling I could just leave it to this weekend and, you know, just get through it real quick. I've heard amazing things about Scythe. Absolutely amazing. So I'm excited to start that one. And a book that I actually already did start is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. After I finished Fountains of Silence, I just needed something a little brainless and simple. And that's kind of what this is. This is like a chick lit book. I'm pretty sure it's an enemies to lovers trope, which I'm fine with. I'm like, what, 30, 40, 70, I guess, pages through. And it's fine. It's fine so far. I'm sure it is exactly what I think it is. And that's kind of what I want right now, a little bit of a palate cleanser. So that is kind of what I am reading and what I'm going to be reading. Alrighty guys, that is it. Leave me a comment down below if you've read any of the books that I talked about in this video, whether it's one that I did read or one that I'm going to be reading. I would love to know your input and your thoughts as well. So please leave your comment down below. Feel free to subscribe, like, tell your best friends, tell your worst enemies, whatever you want to do. It's all good. And I'll be back in 2 days with one of my videos talking about last year's books. Yep, I'll be back soon. Goodbye.